Tonight, breaking news, a deadly freak crash causing long delays on the Western Ring Road.
Anthony Albanese congratulates Donald Trump on his election victory amid fears over tariffs and interest rates.
Supporters weep as Kamala Harris bows out, promising America a peaceful transfer of power.
World-first legislation on the way to ban Australian kids under 16 from using social media.
The race for Town Hall wraps up. Incumbent Reese to serve on as Lord Mayor.
And from the ladies to the blokes, Flemington celebrates Oaks Day in style.
This is Melbourne's 9 News with Alicia Loxley and Tom Steinfort.
Good evening. We are heading straight to breaking news. A person has been killed in a crash on the Western Ring Road.
Mimi Becker joins us live now with the details. Mimi, how did this happen?
Alicia, it's understood the car was driving along the Ring Road, Greensboro bound, when something has come off a truck travelling on the other side of the freeway. Now, that struck the white sedan, killing one person. Now, major crash investigators have been called in and police are urgently hunting for the truck involved. It's understood it hasn't stopped, whether it knew about the incident or not. So police are really hoping to speak to that driver tonight. Now, all 4 lanes of the M80 Ring Road northbound are closed just near the Furlong Road exit, and traffic is incredibly banked up there as investigations take place. The road is expected to remain closed for at least the next 3 hours or so everyone is being asked to avoid that area. Alicia?
OK, Mimi, thank you.
President-elect Donald Trump has told the Prime Minister during their first phone call that the US and Australia will be perfect friends.
But economists are warning his plan to hit China with massive tariffs will cost us billions of dollars and could also have snuffed out hopes of an interest rate cut anytime soon. National Affairs editor Andrew Probyn begins our coverage.
An awkward introduction. The Prime Minister today speaking to the man who may shape his government's economic and political fortunes.
Congratulations to President Trump on his election victory.
Anthony Albanese putting his best diplomatic gloss over the challenges ahead.
President Trump has run a campaign based on change and he's made it clear he's going to do things differently. So we shouldn't be surprised.
But first he's got to establish a working relationship, notwithstanding past comments.
He scares out of me.
It is feasible that you'll one day meet him.
I'll probably be more polite than that.
Australia's ambassador to the United States, Kevin Rudd, going further, scrubbing clean his old social media posts, including one calling Trump the most destructive president in history.
I heard he was a little bit nasty.
You were a destructive president, a traitor to the West.
He won't be there long if that's the case. I don't know much about him.
Since this interview aired in March, Kevin Rudd's been leading Australian efforts to build bridges with top Republicans in Washington.
President Trump is not somebody to be scared of, but somebody that we can work very closely with.
Donald Trump today told Anthony Albanese that Australia and America will be perfect friends. But friends like Donald can cause chaos. Trump's victory sending shockwaves through the global financial markets, the Australian dollar falling, our exposure to China making us vulnerable to the president-elect's plan to hit Beijing with big tariffs. Economist Warwick McKibben saying this will cost Australia up to $10 billion a year.
If you put tariffs on China, slow down their economy, that means their demand for our exports will go down and incomes of our workers will go down who produce those commodities.
If China ends up badly affected by this and that badly affects us.
A cut to interest rates looking ever more distant. Andrew Probyn, 9 News.
Donald Trump kept an unusually low profile today as he savours this incredible comeback.
After a night of celebrations, America and the world is now wondering what this Trump presidency will bring. Jonathan Kersley reports.
Two assassination attempts, a felony conviction, impeachments, and still America opted for what they knew instead of the unknown.
We just witnessed the greatest political comeback in the history of the United States of America.
More than a comeback, it was an emphatic triumph, sweeping up the battleground states, trouncing Kamala Harris, a win so comprehensive, even the 78-year-old Trump seemed taken aback.
Look what happened. Is this crazy?
Trump declaring before a crowd of loyalists he now has an unprecedented mandate. And he does. He won the popular vote, the Electoral College, the Senate, and possibly the House of Representatives.
This will truly be the golden age of America. That's what we have to have.
Kamala Harris had Oprah, Beyonce, and Taylor Swift. Trump lacked the star power, but he connected directly with voters.
Gets in front of every group of people and doesn't change what he says. He's not a politician.
He's promised a crackdown on immigration and a boost to US oil and gas. And his followers can't wait.
Got to close the border, stop these people from crossing. Second thing, they've got to drill, baby, drill. Got to get that liquid gold out of the ground so we can get those gas prices back down to $1.80 a gallon.
The stars and stripes of the American flag fly above Donald Trump's home. In his call with Kamala Harris, the candidate he beat, he agreed there's an importance to unifying the country. The question now is how is he going to do that? After the win, Donald Trump Jr. says his father is already bringing the country together.
We've actually brought people from across the aisle. We've brought people from different walks of life, races, religions, everything in, and actually embraced them.
It's likely prosecutors will now wind down their criminal cases against Trump for trying to overturn the 2020 election and storing classified documents, all because his new Attorney General would almost certainly drop any charges.
I love that he won, and because he won under the freedom ticket, basically, cutting the government down, regulation, taxes, so we can get back to the American dream, basically.
And Elon Musk, who threw a fortune to back Trump, could emerge as the head of a new government agency to save money. He's already declared he could find $2 trillion in savings.
Oh, let me tell you, we have a new star. A star is born, Elon. Now he is. Now he's an amazing guy.
After the win was announced, the value of Musk's stocks rose an estimated $20 billion. Now it's average Americans hoping their finances will also improve.
I'm interpreting the results tonight as the revenge of just a regular old working class American, the anonymous American, half of the country that rose up tonight and said, we've had enough.
A country now waiting on Trump to deliver on his promise.
This is a magnificent victory for the American people that will allow us to make America great again.
In West Palm Beach, Florida, Jonathan Kersley, 9 News.
Kamala Harris emerged this morning to concede defeat and commit to a peaceful transition of power. The Vice President addressed the nation, urging Americans to never give up. More from Alison Petrowski.
Kamala Harris defeated but defiant.
While I concede this election, I do not concede the fight that fueled this campaign.
For the crowd gathered here, the painful knowledge the Vice President's victory would have made history, a second chance at shattering the glass ceiling Hillary Clinton couldn't break in 2016.
Don't you ever listen when anyone tells you something is impossible because it has never been done before.
Composed throughout, Kamala Harris offered Donald Trump something he denied her ticket in 2020.
We will engage in a peaceful transfer of power. Earlier today, I spoke with President-elect Trump and congratulated him on his victory.
In turn, the President-elect acknowledged Vice President Harris on her strength, professionalism and tenacity throughout the campaign. Those qualities on full display.
To everyone who is watching, do not despair.
But her supporters were devastated.
A lot of crying. I haven't slept much. A lot of thoughts going through my mind.
I thank you all. May God bless you, and may God bless the United States of America.
The odds were against her at the top of the ticket for only 107 days. The VP to an unpopular president, and in the weeks and months to come, every minute of this failed campaign will be analysed by the Democrats. For now, their leader paid tribute to the politician who took his place. What America saw today was the Kamala Harris I know and deeply admire. She stepped up and led a historic campaign that embodied what's possible when guided by a strong moral compass.
I think she's done all she can do right now, which is to lead by example and uphold the constitutional principles of our democracy.
The election was thought to be on a razor's edge. In recent weeks, any missteps in either candidate's campaign sharply criticised. Exit polls now show most of it didn't matter.
When did you make up your mind and decide on your presidential vote? 80% of voters say before September they were already locked into their choice.
For the Democrats, the loss is as disheartening as it is indisputable.
So you asked, are there any places that the vice president is overperforming Joe Biden in 2020?
Holy smokes.
There you go.
Literally nothing?
Literally nothing.
Literally not one county?
Kamala Harris ran on a platform of hope, positioning her campaign as a fight for democracy. But this was not an election to be won on ideals alone.
Like it or not, Donald Trump ran an issues-based campaign.
Focusing on inflation and immigration. As the Obamas extended their congratulations to the new president-elect, they acknowledged that reality. America has been through a lot over the last few years, price hikes resulting from the pandemic, to rapid change and the feeling a lot of folks have that no matter how hard they work, treading water is the best they can do.
Don't ever give up. Don't ever stop trying to make the world a better place. You have power. You have power.
Kamala Harris leaving the stage and leaving the rest in the hands of the people. In Washington, D.C., Alison Petrowski, 9 News.
Well, with his re-election, Donald Trump becomes just the second president to serve non-consecutive terms. Our political editor, Charles Croucher, is in Washington and gives his take on Trump's historic return.
For all the headline-grabbing social policies of deportation, deregulation and dismantling trillions of dollars in government contracts, it was simply being different that did it for the Donald. Americans smashed by inflation and struggling week to week went back to what they knew. Nostalgic for an era, imagined or otherwise, before there were wars in Europe and the Middle East, before there was COVID and before everything costs so damn much. Wall Street may be surging, and it certainly surged today, but Main Street is struggling. It's been 4 decades since Ronald Reagan asked Americans, are they better off than they were 4 years ago? Well, last night, they answered.
Back home now, and prominent Melbourne neo-Nazi Thomas Sewell has been charged, along with 3 other men, as part of a significant police operation. The 31-year-old from Wantirna South is facing 2 counts of intimidating a police officer or a police officer's family member. Investigators say the charges follow an attempt by neo-Nazis to disrupt a refugee protest camp outside the Department of Home Affairs. He was bailed to appear in February.
A world first for Australia tonight, with the federal government set to ban children under 16 from all social media platforms. The Prime Minister announced the plan before meeting grieving families who say their lives have been changed forever. Ruth Wynne-Williams has the story.
In Canberra to deliver a direct message, 12-year-old Charlotte O'Brien's parents Matt and Callie carrying her ashes in a teddy bear.
This is Charlotte.
She was in charge in life and she's still very much in charge now. She's giving us directions every day.
Today, the Sydney schoolgirl's voice reaching the Prime Minister.
He was deeply moved by Charlotte's story and our story now. And he knew that he had to step up to the plate.
Charlotte's final wish for help, left in a note 8 weeks ago after receiving a message on social media while she was alone in her bedroom at home.
This one's for the mums and dads. Social media is doing harm to our kids, and I'm calling time on it.
A plan to ban all Australians under 16 years old from accessing social media. A total shutout that'll require big tech buy-in.
This onus will be on the platforms.
I'm sure we're going to see big tech coming out with a whole lot of hysteria. They're going to say, no, but actually our products are fine.
A ban like this would be a world first. Meta refusing an interview, but tonight sending data. It claims 2/3 of Australian parents think they should decide if their children should be on social media and not the government. The family presenting a petition and meeting the opposition with long-time Change campaigners 36 months and Victoria's Rob Evans, who lost 15-year-old daughter Liv to anorexia.
These laws would have protected her.
There is no question in my mind that it's the right decision. This will save lives of our kids.
Charlotte is saving lives.
She is.
In Canberra, Ruth Wynne-Williams, 9 News.
Well, the fashion stakes were high at Flemington, with Oaks Day celebrated in traditional style.
Dressed to impress, a top-class field of contenders put their best stilettos forward to win a slice of almost $400,000. Stephanie Anderson was there.
On Flemington's day for the fashion forward, this crowd came to impress.
I started off with the hat.
Start from the head and work down.
That's what I did, yes.
We travel down from North Queensland. We come down every year for the week.
That's a big effort to tie a bow around a big look. But on Oaks Day, you have to back the outfit and bring the attitude.
I put all the flowers to make it more personal for me.
Zorsha is running on next to no sleep, but lots of excitement. She's created magic from a yoga mat.
I work in sustainable fashion, and I believe that if I can go onto Hard Waste and find something amazing, it makes my heart sing.
There's a story behind every creation, but Angela's will be hard to beat.
April last year I was a pedestrian in Vietnam and I crossed the road and got taken out by a motorbike, fractured my femur and then got care flighted back to Australia.
Determined, she got the all clear to walk on Derby Day, but
unfortunately on the second lap of the promenade I snapped a tendon.
So today, crutches and all, she proved fashion ain't for the faint-hearted.
The show must go on.
And what a show it was. Star judges Liz Hurley and son Damien cast a keen eye as the best dressed and suited hit their stride.
In honour of my late mother-in-law who passed away a week and a half ago, and she used to love looking at the fashion with me.
I was able to get it over the line, so I'm glad that my love for fashion is appreciated.
Now obviously away from the runway, the horses are running, but even from the beautiful vantage point here on the Flemington lawn, the fashion stakes are red hot.
Look at us, we're very elegant, beautiful dresses, beautiful hats, beautiful fascinators.
So from the ladies to the blokes of Oaks, it seems you can't go wrong if your look is strong.
Why be the sheep when you can be the wolf, I say?
At Flemington, Stephanie Anderson, 9 News.
Well, speaking of blokes at the Oaks, let's head to Flemington now. Tony Jones with a look ahead to tonight's sport.
Yeah, Tom, Alicia, I can tell you that the crowd just dispersing somewhat because no sooner had the Oaks been run than that rain rolled in and a lot of people headed for cover to the cars, to the trains after that race had finished. But I can tell you someone who had no trouble beating the rain, and the rest of the field for that matter, was Damien Lane. What a day he had, claiming the Wakeful Oaks double on board Treasure the Moment. Look at this.
100 metres to go, a length and 3/4. Powers of Opal won't get there. Treasure the Moment, it's one to savour. Treasure the Moment won the Oaks.
Also coming up in sport, from Flemington to Ipswich, Robbie Dolan takes the Melbourne Cup to Queensland. The battle to open for Australia becomes more intriguing by the day. Brisbane star Dane Zorko makes a call on his future. And still on footy, the Tigers send spies to Alberton ahead of their AFLW elimination final. That's all coming up live from Flemington. Hopefully this rain can hold off for the rest of the night.
Thank you very much for that, Tony. Looking forward to that. All right, Nick, when Melbourne's 9 News returns, Nick Reese claims victory in the race for Town Hall. Can he deliver on his promises as Lord Mayor?
Also ahead, why a Chinese student who killed 2 women could be free in 7 years.
Talkback King Ray Hadley tells listeners he's hanging up the headphones.
And the capital notches up a century of entertaining the city.
A Chinese student who bashed and killed 2 sex workers in the space of 24 hours could be free in as little as 7 years. The 24-year-old was initially charged with murder but ended up striking a plea deal. Court reporter Amber Johnston.
Too ashamed to show his face, Xiao Junlin pulled his shirt over his head as he arrived at court. But as soon as he was inside, he was exposed for what he really is. A cold-blooded killer who attacked 2 sex workers at their CBD apartments, where they should have been safe. In deciding his fate, Justice Kay said it's important that the sentences be of sufficient severity to provide a clear lesson to others, going on to sentence the 24-year-old to 14 years jail with a non-parole of 9 years, which means with time already served, he could be free in 7.
To get such a short sentence for that just almost seems unbelievable.
It was on Boxing Day in 2022 when he visited a 31-year-old woman at her Latrobe Street apartment for sex. He ended up strangling her and stealing $7,000 cash. A few hours later, he visited Hansu Chung in Docklands, where they also had sex before he attacked her. He stole her bank cards and funneled $17,000 to top up his betting account. Lin held his head low and sobbed hysterically in the courtroom as a Mandarin interpreter translated the judge's scathing remarks. He was initially charged with murder but struck a plea deal sentencing him for the lesser charge of manslaughter.
The message that it is sending to sex workers but to women in general about how we deal with violence against women, I think it still shows that we have so much to do.
Amber Johnston, 9 News.
A man has been charged after a senior constable was struck by a suspected stolen car at Diggers Rest. Police deployed stop sticks on Aviation Drive around 1:30 yesterday afternoon, shortly before the officer was hit and taken to hospital with serious injuries. The offenders were tracked to Water Gardens Shopping Centre, where 2 men were arrested. One was released without charge, while a 33-year-old was remanded in custody until January.
Nick Reese has been elected Melbourne's Lord Mayor for the next 4 years after fending off Greens candidate Roxanne Ingleton. Penelope Leash tells us footy legend Anthony Koutafidis was considered a chance, but in the end didn't score enough votes.
He ran as the man who gets good done, and Nick Reese has done it.
I am so proud and humbled to have been elected the Lord Mayor of Melbourne.
He holds on to the city's top job with 61.49% of the vote, ahead of the Greens' Roxanne Ingleton, who took 38.51%.
I'm actually blown away by the result. I think this is the first time that we have come second in the two-party preferred vote.
Despite making a big mark, Carlton champion Anthony Koutafidis didn't translate on the scoreboard.
Yeah, I really thought right to the end that I still had a chance, and I did. It's definitely my first taste of politics, but it won't be my last. It's something that I really loved during that time and the experience that I've learnt now.
Both Nick Reese and his deputy Rashina Campbell served on council last term, with Reese taking the reins from Sally Capp in July.
I'll build a city which is the best and the fairest in the world.
This is what he's promised. A freeze on rates, $2 entry to the city's pools, cheaper power, 28 new parks, a revamp of Chinatown and the creation of a Little India. An expanded free tram zone, city safety officers to patrol 24/7 and 4,000 new homes.
A lot of the pledges are outside the Lord Mayor's powers. Nick Reese will have to get state and federal governments to come to the table, especially when it comes to tax breaks for bosses who pay for long lunches. We've got a really strong positive plan that we have put forward, and I'm confident I can deliver on everything.
Penelope Leash, 9 News.
Legendary Sydney radio broadcaster Ray Hadley says he'll switch off the mic in December, calling time on a nearly 50-year talkback career. The 2GB host made the shock announcement on air this morning.
For a young bloke wanting to be a race caller, to being an old bloke sitting in the studio for so long. But the time has come for someone else to do the job.
70-year-old Hadley says he wants to spend more time with his 7 grandchildren.
Melbourne's Capitol Theatre is celebrating its 100th birthday. The Chicago Gothic-style building on Swanston Street was Victoria's first picture palace and is perhaps best known for its ceiling, which is made up of more than 30,000 plaster crystals. Today, it's home to cultural events, festivals and lectures.
Livinia Nixon joins us now from Flemington. The weather took a backseat for most of the day, Livinia.
Oh, that's right, Tom. Oaks Day is all about the fashion, and that took centre stage, while the weather was rather understated. There's showers now, but earlier on we had an abundance of blue sky as the city climbed from a low of 14 up to 22 degrees. Cloud then started increasing from mid-afternoon before showers arrived, and the temperature dropped quite a bit. It's now down to 17. Thunderstorms started sparking up in the state's southwest around lunchtime. They delivered 4 millimetres at Cape Nelson, the same at Dartmoor. Melbourne shouldn't see any higher totals than that tonight, just a few millimetres of forecast, and storms in the west have now petered out. So although it's been a damp finish to Oaks Day, Saturday's forecast fits the Stakes Day vibe of simple but stylish. I'll be back with all the details later in the bulletin, Alicia and Tom.
Sounds lovely. See you soon, Livinia. Coming up for you, convicted wife killer Joe Lobianco wipes away tears while being sentenced for murder.
The Chinese Navy keeps watch as Philippine forces conduct war games.
Plus, the most famous footwear in movie history up for auction.
A driver has escaped injury after 2 hoons on a suspected stolen motorbike ploughed into his car in West Melbourne. Police say a rider and his passenger were travelling along Hawke Street when they smashed into a blue SUV yesterday afternoon before dumping their vehicle and fleeing on foot. A 17-year-old West Melbourne boy was arrested a short time later. His accomplice remains on the run.
A man who bludgeoned his wife to death in the garage of their family home will spend more than 2 decades behind bars. Joe Lobianco today wiped away tears as the judge labelled the killing unprovoked and vicious. Isabel Quinlan has more.
He painted himself as the grief-stricken husband, but in actual fact, Joe Lobianco is nothing but a monster. The 54-year-old today sentenced to 24 years behind bars for murdering his partner, Calliope Rumiliotis, in a horrendous case of family violence. The court heard Lobianco ambushed his wife of 16 years when she pulled into the garage of their inner-city home in November 2022, bashing her with a car ramp in a vicious 2-minute assault. When their young daughter, who cannot be identified, came home from a party that night, he then lured her into finding her mother's lifeless body. Supreme Court Judge Amanda Fox said his actions can only be described as cruel. It's difficult to understand why you would do such a thing. In that moment, you were only thinking about yourself and the false story you were about to tell. Her family said there were no obvious red flags, but the relationship had become tense after Lobianco refused to get the COVID-19 vaccine and lost his job at Australia Post.
Even though Lobianco confessed to his sickening crimes, there are still so many unanswered questions for the Rumiliotis family, as he has never explained why he did it.
Justice Fox said she doesn't think it was premeditated due to the weapon being something that was nearby and available. She gave Lobianco a 4-year discount for pleading guilty to the murder. He will be eligible for parole in 16 years at the age of 70, with time already served. Isabel Quinlan, 9 News.
Philippine forces have conducted military exercises in the South China Sea as Chinese Navy ships kept watch from afar. A top general said the drills underscore the readiness of Manila to defend the country's sovereignty at all costs, adding to already existing tensions in those disputed waters.
The Prince of Wales has given a candid update on his wife's health while speaking to media on the sidelines of his South Africa tour.
How is the princess?
She's doing really well, thanks, and hopefully she's watching tonight and sort of cheering me on. But no, she's been amazing this whole year.
William also showed off a bracelet with the word Papa on it, made for him by Princess Charlotte. The Prince is in Cape Town announcing the winners of the 2024 Earthshot Prize.
The ruby slippers from the film The Wizard of Oz are expected to fetch $3.5 million at auction. The glittery pumps worn by Judy Garland in the 1939 classic were stolen in 2005. Their whereabouts remained a mystery until the FBI recovered them 13 years later.
The RSL's annual Poppy Appeal is in full swing, with generous Victorians getting behind the campaign in the lead up to Remembrance Day. The Flanders poppy has been used for more than 100 years to commemorate Australian soldiers who died in war. Money raised from their sale supports veterans and their families. OK, still ahead for you in the news tonight, a Ballarat home sprayed with bullets in a terrifying drive-by attack.
The simple blood test sparing Australians from harmful reactions to common medication.
Comedian Pete Hellier helps bring a Peter Pan prequel to life on stage.
Plus, later in sport, a shock move from...
A gunman has opened fire at a house in Ballarat. The drive-by shooting happened in the suburb of Mount Pleasant around midday yesterday. 2 people were home at the time but weren't injured. The offenders remain on the run.
Shoppers and suppliers have vented their frustration on the first day of the ACCC's inquiry into the supermarkets. Pricing practices, competition and profit margin were on the agenda as consumers battle skyrocketing grocery bills.
The sector shows all the signs of an oligopoly, that is, dominated by a few players who don't necessarily compete fiercely with each other.
The inquiry will hear from Coles and Woolworths next week. A $9 billion merger for Chemist Warehouse took a giant leap forward today. Dougal Beattie has tonight's finance report.
Chemist Warehouse will be allowed to merge with Sigma Healthcare to create an $8.8 billion pharmaceutical giant. The ACCC cleared the deal today, the news sending shares in Sigma soaring by more than 24%. It was a choppy session on the Australian share market as investors weighed up Donald Trump's tariffs and pro-growth policies. Those sentiments echoed by the boss of NAB, Andrew Irvine, who said Australian companies would likely get hurt in a US-China trade war. The bank also revealing an 8% fall in cash profit to $7.1 billion. And the Australian dollar rebounded to 66 US cents. It's also buying 61 euro cents and 51 British pence.
Blood tests can identify whether patients are vulnerable to life-threatening side effects to common medications and treatments like codeine or chemotherapy. But as Gabriella Rogers explains, they're not widely available before the drugs are prescribed.
When Jennifer Coney was diagnosed with bowel cancer, her treatment sent her body into toxic overdrive.
2.5 weeks I was in hospital.
She couldn't properly metabolise the chemotherapy tablets.
I was so sick, I didn't realise how bad I was.
1% of patients die from side effects related to their chemotherapy, not related to their cancer.
A blood test revealed Jennifer has a genetic variant, the reason she reacted so badly to the common chemotherapy capecitabine. There's now a call to make DPYD genetic testing widely available before the drug is prescribed.
This is standard of care across Europe and within the UK.
Around 30% of patients who are treated with fluorouracil would develop toxicity. We are calling for Medicare rebate of that genotyping test.
The Royal College of Pathologists listing 35 medications where similar pharmacogenomic testing can be done to prevent serious side effects and improve a patient's response. They include common antidepressants, allopurinol for gout, codeine and tramadol for pain, neurological medications, statins and blood thinners to prevent heart attacks and stroke. Pre-exposure testing for 12 of the 35 medications is recommended by experts here and international regulatory agencies. In Australia, oncologists and psychiatrists are leading the way in adopting the tests.
Patients can be walking around in the community and not know that they carry one of these variants.
Gabriella Rogers, 9 News.
Captain Hook and Tinkerbell might seem like a long-forgotten dream, but a new show is about to take audiences back to Neverland. Peter and the Starcatcher is a musical prequel to the original Peter Pan, featuring puppets, dancing mermaids and some familiar funny faces.
To be honest, they lied to me with the amount of scenes I was going to be in and the amount of singing. I told them I can't sing and they said it'll be fine.
It's drama, it's high comedy, it's a beautiful spectacle and it's for 6-year-olds and 80-year-olds alike.
The show will run at the Playhouse from tomorrow night until December 1st.
All right, let's head back out to Flemington now for tonight's sport with Tony Jones.
Yes, thank you, Tom. Hello again. It was a moment to treasure. Not Treasure Island, but a moment to treasure for trainer Matt Laurie, who claimed his maiden Group 1 here on Oaks Day. We'll have more on that for you shortly. Also coming up after the break, Melbourne Cup winning jockey Robbie Dolan back in the saddle and back in the winner's circle. Why Jake Fraser-McGurk plans to ignore the haters. And the Lions veteran with a thirst for more success. Welcome back to Flemington. All the action from here very shortly, including Damien Lane's win in the Oaks. But first, that other jockey, Robbie Dolan, has stayed true to his promise by racing at Ipswich today. And as Nathan Curry tells us, Robbie took that Melbourne Cup with him to Queensland.
From this to this, Robbie Dolan is a man of his word, honouring his 4 rides at Ipswich and bringing the Melbourne Cup with him.
It's really hot here today. I am sweating.
Dolan arrived with little fanfare, wheeling his own case and fueling himself with his usual pre-race energy drink.
Easy game this, isn't it? Easy game.
And punters had no trouble getting a photo with him and the cup.
It's not every day you get to see a Melbourne Cup in the flesh. I don't even know if the Melbourne Cup's ever been at Ipswich Racecourse before.
Dolan has revealed he initially planned to pull out of the meet if he won the Cup before having a change of heart.
At the end of the day, it's my job. You know what I mean? Like, you wouldn't see a footballer score a winning goal and be like, nah, I don't want to play next week. So, I got to rock up and honour my commitments.
Dolan maintained his strong form in the 38-degree heat, winning 1 race and placing in the other 3.
Meanwhile, back here at the scene of where Robbie Dolan became a household name, attention has turned to Oaks Day.
It was Treasure the Moment and Damien Lane that completed the Wakeful Oaks double.
Treasure the moment, it's one to savour. Treasure the moment won the Oaks.
Capping off 2 decades of work for Matt Laurie.
I'm shaking, but it was a painless watch, and it's a dream to win a Group 1 in this week.
And not only did Treasure the Moment beat the rest of the field, she beat the rain as well. Nathan Curry, 9 News.
Cricket now, and Australia's top order spot is still up for grabs after front runner Nathan McSweeney failed with the bat in Australia A's tour match against India A. Nat Unides with more.
Nathan McSweeney was leading the charge to open the batting for Australia, only to be caught out.
There's the edge, and he's out. And McSweeney falls.
The Australia A captain gone for 14 in the first innings against India A. Fellow Test hopeful Cam Bancroft was out for 3, but Marcus Harris is unbeaten on 24, with the Aussies 2 for 53 at stumps on day 1. Earlier, McSweeney proved he's handy with the ball.
Jarrell swings it high into the onside. This should be caught. It is.
Taking a crucial wicket as the tourists were bowled for 161. The South Australia captain has the backing of one-day opener Jake Fraser-McGurk.
He's my pick to open the batting, obviously, but I'm very intrigued to see how the next game goes, and I'll be watching every ball.
But the Victorian needs to focus on his own spot at the top of the order. Fraser-McGurk has been criticised for being too aggressive with the bat, but won't change his approach ahead of the second ODI.
Oh, not really, no. The game's changing, and that's sort of the way we want to play our cricket, is really take on those first 10 overs. I'm feeling really good in the nets and working on some things, so yeah, I think that's just the best feedback you're going to get, really.
Suggestions the 22-year-old should work on the defensive side of his game were also dismissed.
Not really worried about Test cricket at the moment when I'm playing 1 days for Australia, so just focusing on the next game tomorrow and hopefully trying to put my best foot forward.
The second one-dayer against Pakistan gets underway in Adelaide tomorrow. Nat Unides, 9 News.
Footy now in retirement certainly isn't on the radar for Brisbane Premiership star Dane Zorko. The Lions veteran turns 36 early next year, but isn't quite ready to think about hanging up those boots just yet.
Honestly, I just absolutely love playing for this club. My body's in really good shape. I feel like I'm just going around in a circle because it's the same thing I said last year. But look, I'll definitely know when the time's right, and I don't think it is that at the moment.
He's clearly thirsty for more success. Zorko and teammate Josh Dunkley are on hand to inspect the new limited edition 4X Lions Premiership beer cans. More footy, and Richmond has sent staff members to Port Adelaide's spiritual home, Alberton Oval, to scout out the ground ahead of the Tigers' AFLW elimination final against the Power. Their skipper has urged her team to embrace the challenge.
We rate them highly. We know that they're number 2 for pressure in the competition. They love to surge the ball forward and that their game stands up in finals footy. So we'll have a big task on our hands.
Meanwhile, Hawthorn swapped Waverley Park for Princes Park today to prepare for their clash against reigning premiers Brisbane on Sunday. And finally in sport tonight, it is with a very, very heavy heart that we announce Australian Olympic colt hero Raygun has called time on her competitive breaking career. The 36-year-old made the call after copping a barrage of backlash over her performance in Paris.
That seems really difficult thing for me to do now, to approach a battle. The level of scrutiny that's going to be there, and you know, the people will be filming it, it'll go online, and it's just not going to mean the same thing.
So on that very sad note, guys, that is what you call the ultimate breaking news.
Well done. It's a valuable tracksuit, I would suggest.
It's pretty popular at Halloween as well.
Very popular, exactly. All right, Livinia returns now, also at Flemington. And what can we expect for the final day of the Melbourne Cup Carnival, Livinia?
Well, Alicia, it's shaping up to be a very pleasant stakes day on Saturday. Stable conditions are forecast with sunny breaks and it won't be too hot. So winning all round. We have a bit of a breezy day on the way tomorrow, though. I'll have those details along with the 7-day forecast next. Hello again from Flemington. The weather took a turn late this afternoon, but we spent most of Oaks Day under blue skies, and the city peaked at 22 after a mild low of 14. Showers arrived just after the main race had been run, and they also brought a sharp drop in temperature that had some racegoers shivering. Others hot-footed it to the exit, and umbrellas and ponchos ended up being the most fashionable accessories. The showers haven't delivered much to the gauges. Geelong has picked up 3 millimetres after reaching a top of 21, just a millimetre or two around the suburbs, and a number of spots warmed up to 23 degrees. The state's southwest had a stormy afternoon, but rainfall totals were modest, 4 millimetres being the highest recorded. After a very hot day yesterday, maximums today were much closer to average. Mildura and Swan Hill both reached 26 degrees. Those showers are extending eastwards across the state, but will get less likely later this evening. Then tomorrow morning, a weak cold front will clip the southwest coast. That'll send in another round of showers to southern Victoria, but once again, there won't be too much in them. And if we look ahead to Saturday, we're going to cap off what's been an incredible Melbourne Cup Carnival with dry and mild conditions for Stakes Day. Further afield, temperatures are going to soar up into the 40s tomorrow across much of the country's north, and parts of Queensland are in the midst of severe heatwave conditions. Brisbane is facing its warmest run of November nights in 5 years. It's not expected to drop below 22 degrees for 4 consecutive days, starting off tomorrow. A low of 24, warming up to 33 in Brisbane with afternoon showers and storms. Sydney's heading for 30 under blue skies, gusty winds, showers and 17 in Hobart, and morning showers in Adelaide, clearing for a nice afternoon, 21 degrees. Back home, it won't be as pleasant as today, with stronger southwesterly winds developing south of the ranges. Hamilton and Ballarat both heading for 16 degrees, 17 at Warrnambool with up to 4 millimetres of showers. Gippsland will be dry, heading for the low 20s, and 23, 24 and 25 along the Murray. Here in Melbourne, just a shower or two about tonight, then tomorrow a burst of showers will arrive in the middle of the day. It'll be fast moving, so won't deliver much, a millimetre at most. Overnight minimum should range between 7 at Ferny Creek to 12 at Moorabbin, before most spots peak at 19 and 20. It'll be windy in Geelong with a possible shower, a low of 11 and a top of 19. The city with its nose in front can expect to reach 20 degrees and only a slight chance of seeing any of that rainfall tomorrow. Then a top of 21 on Saturday, very light winds and breaks of sunshine for Stakes Day. Sunday looking much the same, 21 again, 23 and mostly sunny on Monday, 24 on Tuesday, a possible shower, 26 with a shower or two on Wednesday, then 22 next Thursday. So we're in a bit of a cooler spell at the moment, Alicia and Tom.
All right, looking good down there this evening, Livinia. Thank you. And that is 9 News for this Thursday. Ali's next with the current affair.
We hope you have a great evening. For now, good night.